It's made for a one size. That's all. Thank you very much for. No, that's okay. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very honored to be here and to talk to you about the Teaching and Learning International Survey that is undertaken by the OECD. So the latest round of the TALIS survey took place in 2013, which are the results I'm going to talk to you about. It included 34 countries. The round before the 2013 round was in 2008, and that one had 24 countries participating. In this latest round in 2013, the survey was administered to over 100,000 randomly selected lower secondary teachers and their school leaders from over 6,500 schools. And this is a randomized nationally representative sample, so it represented more than 4 million teachers in these 34 countries. This was an international agreed-upon survey asking teachers a variety of questions about their working environments, their teaching practices, questions about appraisal and feedback, questions about professional development, questions about self-efficacy, satisfaction. For reasons of time, I'm not going to be able to cover them all, but I'll show you some of the main findings. One of the most important things that TALIS asks is about the professional development of teachers. Teachers were asked what their needs are for more professional development. This is after initial teacher education, so these are teachers who are already in service. And I'm showing you here the average across the TALIS countries in the darker colored bars. And since we're in Mexico, I'm also showing you the Mexico's data in the lighter colored bars. Across the TALIS countries, teachers report that they need professional development in teaching students with special needs. That was one of the most higher ranked priorities. Teachers report that they need professional development in ICT skills for teaching, as well as new technologies in the workplace. The Mexican teachers also reported that they needed professional development in teaching in a multicultural or multilingual setting. Now, when it comes to professional development, there are often barriers to participating in professional development. And the most often reported barriers include that across the TALIS countries, teachers report that one barrier to professional development is that it conflicts with the work schedule. Another barrier is that there are no incentives for participating in such activities, or that it is too expensive for them. In the case of the Mexican teachers, they also report quite a high proportion of teachers report that there's also a lack of employer support. Now, this is a barrier that does need to be addressed when it comes to professional development, because across the board, teachers report that regardless of the type of content, 3/4 of the teachers report that the professional development in which they participated has a positive impact on their teaching. So addressing the barriers that are preventing teachers from participating in further professional development is something that should be addressed. We also asked teachers about the various teaching practices that they used. In this figure, we show you the distribution of class time that teachers, of the various work that teachers do. And I've got the average across the TALIS countries as well as the average for Mexico. As you can see, teachers spend most of their time in activities related to teaching and learning, and this is obviously a good thing. But they also spend a bit of time, not too big, a good proportion of time on administrative tasks and in keeping order in the classroom. In the case of Mexico, administrative tasks and keeping order in the classroom amounts to almost 25% of the time. This is quite a bit of time that's sacrificed that could instead be used towards teaching and learning activities. Beyond teaching, we asked teachers about what other activities teachers are responsible for. And as you can see, it is quite diverse. Teachers do a lot more than just teaching and learning. So for example, some of the most of their time, a lot of their time in a day is spent on things like marking and planning. These are teaching and learning related activities, so this is a good sign. But there are other things too, such as school management, extracurricular activities, student counseling, and teamwork. All of these are very important and relevant for teachers' work. And this just goes to show you that teachers do a lot more than just standing in front of a classroom teaching. There are a variety of things that teachers do that they're responsible for. And there's a lot of variety across countries. For instance, you can see that in Japan, almost 8 hours are spent on extracurricular activities. In terms of the teaching practices that teachers use, you can see that there's quite a variety as well between passive teaching practices and active teaching practices, and both are very important for student learning. In terms of passive practices, the most frequently reported are teachers presenting a summary in front of the class of their content, or checking students' exercise books. And this is part of teaching, and that's important. But active teaching practices are also very important. So something like students working on projects that require at least 1 week to complete, or students using ICT. Teachers use these practices, but less frequently than the passive practices. Interestingly, the Mexican teachers reported not using very many adaptive teaching practices. So for instance, the third from the bottom, give different work to the students who have difficulties learning and or those who can advance faster. This is teachers being able to use different practices depending on the ability levels of the students. And this is something that is really important. And unfortunately, it's not very often reported. So we also ask teachers about their job satisfaction, because as we know, it's very important to have teachers that are motivated to go to work. And overall, over 80% of the teachers report that they're very satisfied with their jobs. Teachers report there's very high satisfaction across TALIS countries, as well as in Mexico, that teachers report being satisfied with their jobs. They enjoy working at the school that they're in, and they would actually even recommend the school as a good place to work. So this is really good news. It means teachers are happy to be where they're at. We also ask teachers what their perceptions of how their profession is valued. And unfortunately here, the results are not so good. Only 1/3 of teachers reported that they agree or strongly agree that the teaching profession is valued in society. Of course, there's a lot of variability. The Malaysian teachers report that their profession is very valued. And on the other hand, teachers in the Slovak Republic or in France, very, very few teachers report that their profession is valued. So there's a lot of variability. What we need to keep in mind with this chart is that across all our TALIS countries, if only one third of them are reporting that teaching is valued in society, this has implications for attracting good candidates into teaching, as well as for retaining teachers in the profession. So this is something that should be addressed. And the value of a profession for teachers is important to address, because we see that there's a relationship between the value of the profession and student achievement. So in this figure, sorry, it's a little complicated, but what this figure shows is the relationship between the proportion of teachers who report that they're feeling valued in the profession, and the proportion of the students who have a large share of the top performers in mathematics. This was in mathematics in PISA 2012. So what this figure is showing you is that in those countries where there's a larger share of teachers reporting that they feel valued in the profession, those same countries are also the ones where there's a larger proportion of students who perform very well in mathematics in PISA 2012. So this is something really to keep in mind, in the sense that there's a relationship between how a teacher feels valued in her profession and the outcome of those students. In terms of job satisfaction, we asked teachers specifically about what relates to job satisfaction. Here I've got two graphs for class size and students with behavior problems. No matter the class size, it doesn't affect teachers' reporting of their job satisfaction, which is whether it's a small class size or a large class size, teachers still report they're satisfied. On the other hand, the more that there are students with behavioral problems in the classroom, the satisfaction goes down. So in the second graph, you could see that it doesn't go down by very much, but it shows that where there are more behavioral problems, there's less satisfaction by the teachers. And this, if you recall, behavioral problems is one of the, or special needs is one of the aspects of professional development that teachers said we required more help with. So finally, that was for TALIS 2013. The next round of TALIS is in 2018, and we already have over 45 educational systems that have agreed to participate, including educational systems in Latin America, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico. Now, the main survey of TALIS is a questionnaire for ISCED Level 2 teachers, and that is lower secondary. But like in 2013, TALIS 2018 will have options for countries who wish to implement the survey in ISCED Level 1, so primary, as well as ISCED Level 3, so upper secondary. And like in TALIS 2013, there's also the option to have a TALIS PISA link. What this means is that for those countries that are interested, the teachers will be in the same schools where they're implementing both TALIS and PISA in 2018. For countries that are interested, the deadline for joining is July 2016. And here's a list of the themes that we're going to be exploring in TALIS 2018. You will notice that the themes are quite similar to what I've just presented to you now for TALIS 2013 and themes that were already covered also in TALIS 2008. But we have some new ones, for instance, equity and diversity and innovative teaching practices. These are new themes that we're going to be exploring in the next round of TALIS.